So we're in session
3.
3. Thank you, Dave. So bad. We're in session 3, and when we last left the crew, that's what my YouTube channel should be, is when we last left our heroes, honestly, because I start every game that way. Anyway, when we last left the crew, they were just getting off the platform where their ship was docked and getting ready to depart the planet of Warren, which has become somewhat inhospitable following a whole bunch of sort of annoying reveals. You have the space MacGuffin, or didn't have the space MacGuffin. You're supposed to deliver to a guy who ended up dead. What was his name? Orwell? It was an O name. I wrote it down. I should have written it down. I wrote it down, but I don't have it quickly handy. What was that? It was something. I don't remember. It doesn't matter what his name is. But dead guy. Fleeing the dead guy, you've got what are the various factions that we have? At least one assassin's been recruited or been retained by somebody to get the case back. That assassin being one of Monster's friends that he hasn't eaten.
I don't think she would taste good. Plus, also friend.
Plus also friend.
Try to avoid that when possible.
But only when possible. So at least one assassin's been retained. We've got the 51st Legion is investigating way faster than they probably should have. We got to see a little bit of how some sort of remote activities on the ship via
Wyndham Orcutt.
Wyndham Orcutt. Wyndham. I knew where I got the O for the last name, I guess. From Drifter's little like shipboard bot. I need to figure out what that thing looks like, because right now I'm basically picturing like a more rundown version of Evie, like Eve from Wall-E.
I was actually really hoping to get away from that particular stereotype, but
well, then by all means do. I just is it a flying
I'm
thing,
still
or is it
working
more
on
of a crawly thing, a rolly thing?
I'll figure something
I
out.
want something more. Here's the thing. So, not to go too far afield, but I really feel like we're still kind of exploring this universe a little bit. Hence me asking lots of questions. But bots are either drawing a line here, and I'm kind of pulling this out of the book. You've basically got Urbots, precursor bots, obviously, Urbots, or drones. Drones being pretty stupid things, maybe VI level intelligence, but pretty much relatively dumb systems. Probably the best they're going to be able to pull off is sort of like deep learning level expertise. Within their little scaled area of expertise, they're going to be pretty good at the thing up to a certain point. But you don't necessarily want to trust them with anything super important without double checking the work. Like, I am a huge fan of remove.bg, and it's really good at its deep learning, but occasionally you have to make sure that it didn't decide that the slightly flesh-colored pipe in the background isn't my third arm when it's doctoring up a thing. And you think about that with the intelligence assigned to a drone and, then giving it basically a gun, things could get worrisome pretty quick. And then you've got Urbots, who are smarter, who can be said, go do the thing, and they can be trusted to do the thing correctly. They're smarter.
They're smart enough that we have to wipe their memory periodically so that they don't
get too smart. And there's all kinds of questions that raises. And I will also say, not for nothing, it is fascinatingly, interestingly terrifying to me that you don't hack these things, you attune to them. Because there is a short list of shit that you attune to in this world, and all the rest of it is either an artifact with godlike powers or it breathes. And then there's Urbots. That's the third thing on the list. So that says things about, because all those Urbots are is some precursor AI in a box or a cube or a genome plugged into a chassis that we happen to find. And the example that they have in there is like, I took a drone body and I took an Urbot like AI and plugged it into this drone, and now it can like do 6 things and it grew itself 2 new arms. You know, so I feel like, if I'm not mistaken, let me look at Drifter's sheet here real quick. But I think one of the thing is a fine small Urbot means A, it's high quality, it's small, and it's also not a dumb critter. It may not talk, and it doesn't need to be cutesy. It could be quite the opposite of cutesy. It could be creepy. I don't really, but it doesn't necessarily need to be human tech. It may be weirdly insectile. It may, I mean, I can't remember on Farscape if those, because those bots were annoying. The little repair bots were the little thing. They just rolled around. I'm like, you can't get on the. Okay, fine. They stuck a couple of them to the wall, but I always wanted properly repaired versions of those repair bots to have like their carapace kind of open up like a ladybug and fly. Like they ought to be able to do that. They should do that all the time. Like that, so maybe it's like, I don't know. I'm not thinking out loud, but if it's an Urbot, I feel like it's not necessarily the sky's the limit, but design wise, there should be a lot of options. I don't want, so let this be free reign, I guess, to Bill in terms of describing the thing ultimately when you decide what you're comfortable with, because I'm not going to say no to anything, and anything you say is going to tell us a lot more about the world. So, no pressure. I guess that wasn't really where I wanted to go with that, but yeah, no pressure there. But interesting stuff there. And you guys are just lifting off of the platform, kind of. I think we're all on the same screen here. Let me make sure we are. Starting to see this area pan by, and I think actually starting to get up into the somewhat higher areas of the city that look a little bit more like that. Is that, what layer is that on? Layer, let's put that on the token layer so it's up a little bit higher. There we go. Is that good? You see that? So we're getting up away from the ground, but we're still well inside of the buildings. We have there's a lot more buildings to go before we're up in the sky properly. Is what I'm saying. We're kind of, panning up past that. Drifter's obviously in the cockpit. Is anybody up in the cockpit with Drifter, or where are you guys? Let's just go around the horn. Kay, where are you at right now?
I'm in the galley.
This is my surprised face. Does it sound surprised? It's not. I'm not very surprised. What are you doing in the galley? Just because so Drifter's piloting. We got the lights up from the dashboard kind of playing across his face in ways that dashboard lights never play across anybody's face. But still cool looking. And we're in the galley. You're in the galley. What are you doing?
I have a question. I mean, are we officially on downtime?
We are still okay, and actually that's an excellent question. We're gonna go to the ship here. We still have one more clock to get out, but the clock is relatively small. So we have a clock that was get to the ship. That one is done. We're gonna add another clock, and if you look at the ship sheet, we have one more clock that I'm gonna add in here. We're gonna say yeah.
I asked this on the forums, but I've never gotten an answer back.
Go.
Would you like a set of clocks that you can actually put out on the main thing?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, I don't.
Yes.
Yes. I mean, if you can figure out a way to put them up there and then a relatively easy way to fill them. I mean, if they're just pictures like. So let me. Here's what I was thinking. Here's the really ugly thing I was thinking about. Let me drag you guys over here so we can look at this thing.
Doyce?
Yes, sir.
Allow me to say?
Mm-hmm.
I can take care of that.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Because this is the best fix I've got, is to take something like this page and kind of go, wait, okay, I gotta show you what my solution would be. It'd be to like go, okay, we have a clock.
Are we going to be impressed?
There's 6 things, and then as we fill in the clocks, is me going, okay, that one's done. This one's done. That one's done. We can totally do this, but science fiction-y
I think
feeling.
there's a better answer here, dear.
Well, I mean, if
Oh wait,
my-
we need an extra segment. There we go.
yeah, there's no. I mean, I can totally do that, and I have done that. In fact, I've had clocks running for stuff in the past for without really publicizing it. If you have a brilliant way, Mike, by all means, brilliant yourself all over this thing because that's what I've got as a solution.
I have solutions for that.
Awesome, I love it.
I might need to be made GM of the game for a little bit just to implement it.
I don't have secrets on here. I barely know what's going on from minute to minute. I'm kidding, but yeah, that's fine. Whatever you need. Do you need it right now, or do you need it like later, like some other time?
Later's gonna be better.
Totally fine. For now, we will deal with the clock that's on the ship sheet, which is I don't know why the sheets have been really laggy for me. It isn't just this game. I thought it was maybe just these really complicated sheets on this thing, but it's not. I have incidentally, Mike, just so you know, tried out the masks, that one link that you gave to the guy who sort of hacked up new mask sheets, or not new, but like expanded mask sheets. They're quite good. They're like,
oh yeah, they are very, very good.
like-
I enjoyed them quite
yeah.
a bit.
there's like 3 layers to them, and all the stuff that we end up putting on that front character sheet, like there's no place for background stuff. There's no place for this. There's space for everything. It's great. It's quite good. But I don't think it's just these sheets. Anyway, so Margie, we are taking off out of Atmo. We have a 4-segment clock to get out of the Atmo. None of that is ticked yet. It may or may not fall to you, but I am totally fine with the idea that the ship is taking off. We have this tense thing going on in the cockpit, and elsewhere in the ship, completely different things that have nothing to do, or in fact, not at all helpful with getting away, are taking place. So, what you doing?
I'm in the galley.
Are you staring fixedly at the thing?
Actually, no. I'm packing it up.
Okay, you may end up staring fixedly at the thing. Now, I have a thing I want to do, and I need to make sure. I think I understand the mechanics of this in a pretty straightforward fashion. Mike, check me on this. What I'm looking for is basically I'm basically looking for a willpower check, and I believe that's resist.
So if you do a resist, you start off by taking when you're gonna resist, you basically commit to I am going to take 6 stress.
Well, I see.
Hold on.
Okay.
You commit to that. At which point you then roll whichever particular thing it is.
Yeah.
Resolve and whatnot. Whatever you roll on that, the highest die, is how much less stress you take.
No, I get that mechanic, and that. So I don't want to go digging right now, and unfortunately I was driving today, so I couldn't really check this. But I think, and we can loop back to this for a second, because Margie said what she wants to do. She wants to pack up the MacGuffin. That's fine. There's a situation where, for example, you get shot in the chest. And I say, that's going to be harm 3, and that's bad, obviously, and all kinds of things are happening, and there's a gaping, smoking hole in your chest. Would you like to resist that? To which the obvious answer is, hell yes. And or probably. And you roll your resist.
Isn't that usually a result of something you've done?
Yeah, so that's one version of the thing is, there's this thing has happened to me, and I would like that to not happen to me. And so you roll a resist.
But isn't that thing that happened to me usually the result of a bad roll previously?
Well, to be fair, there is a bad roll
Like
previously.
out of left field.
To-
that says,
Yeah, you rolled it too, Mom.
Yeah, to be fair, there is a bad roll
No,
previously.
no,
You
I'm
gotta-
trying to understand mechanics.
No. Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Typically, not necessarily even something bad happened. Not that you rolled something bad, but usually something bad has happened to you. I would like to lessen that or make it not happen. That's one thing. I think, and again, this is from a reading from a week ago. I think there's another use of resist for there is this. effect in the world that you need to avoid. Resist that so it doesn't happen. And maybe
Yeah.
and boy, if you had a page number, I would just be super happy about that, because that's what I want is study went awry and now she's handling it and getting ready to put it away, and I feel like at that point Kay might get a little fascinated, I guess is the best word for it. And I want that. And of course, the index in the back of the book is either useless or there's too many entries. I feel like maybe 203, 204 might be where I want. Maybe. That's not quite what I want either.
It's 35.
35, 36? Let me look. Thank you. I'm going to tab the shit out of this book at some point. I say that a lot. So usually a resistance roll reduces severity of a consequence. If you're going for a suffer blah, 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 blah. The GM also has the option to rule that your character completely avoids a consequence. For example, maybe you're in a sword fight and the consequence is getting disarmed. That's kind of it. Yeah, I mean, it could be the mechanic doesn't exactly have. I mean, it could be the game doesn't exactly have the mechanic that I'm looking for, which is does the thing happen at all? And you know, if you roll poorly, it happens, and if you don't roll poorly, it does. But that's really something else. That's not a resistance roll. The resistance roll is this is going to happen. If you resist it, it will not happen, but it's still going to wear on your mind.
Well,
sort of.
It may reduce it. It depends on whether or not you say, yeah, resisting reduces it, but it doesn't get rid of it entirely. And that's what 36 is about, with it being like adjusting the consequences, which ones are reduced versus which are avoided, to establish the overall tone.
So here's where I am, Margie. Let me walk you through this. I was thinking about this anyway as a possible thing, and I think it ties in nicely with you wanting to put it away. It's hard for me not to think of it as tucking the ring away into the pocket. But we had that study roll, and it was low, which kind of opens the door for some sort of consequence. And the idea would be is that you've become fascinated with the thing. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It may mean that this space chase as we're escaping the planet is a lot of like, hey, can you help out here? And you're sort of glassily staring at the thing until the space chase scene resolves, and then you shake out of it. But you may learn something, just at a cost. In which case, there's no resist roll, there's no stress, blah, blah, blah. Okay? Or you know, Kay, we need you up here, or you just shake out of it, but you've got to drag your mind back, which may or may not be a lot of stress. You're at a point where if you roll really badly on the resist roll, which is resolve in this case, you'd be rolling one die. If you rolled poorly, it could mean trauma,
I'm
and
sorry,
that's
why is it? Sorry.
I think it's probably resolve.
It's
I'm sorry, not one dice, two dice. I'm doing that wrong. I'm looking at.
okay.
Sorry, these character sheets drive me a little crazy. Would you like me to tell you why I thought your resolve was 1? Because you have 1 XP marked, and that's what I thought the bar was for. Because I'm terrible. Sorry about that. So you'd be rolling like 2 dice, taking your best roll, subtracting that from 6, and then that's how much stress you take. But you shake it off. Alternately, so to put this in the format that the game seems to sort of want. Because that study went awry and now you're handling the thing and it's powerful, the threat here is that you just become sort of glassy-eyed, sort of fascinated with the thing and won't do anything during the space fight, or you can resist that and fight it off and take some stress, possibly. Maybe none, who knows? You could roll great. What would you prefer to do in that case? You can think about that if you prefer, and I can loop around to.
I would like to resist it, but is this something where I can pull something else in? Because most of the examples they give are more physical, where they
Mhm.
have people using their armor or something like that in the resist roll.
Okay, I don't think you have special armor for this. You could certainly use a gambit. Honestly, you probably have put more into the gambit pool than anybody at this point because you're the scoundrel and you just feed in. So you could certainly throw in a gambit. That would give you 3 dice, which is pretty good, which is great, really. I don't think a devil's bargain. Well, I actually I have a devil's bargain where you could take. I got a dice you could get for the devil's bargain. The devil's bargain would be you have to even though you don't the way the game works is you sort of have to indulge your vice during downtime if you have a trauma. If you don't have a trauma, there's no downside to not indulging your vice, so you don't have to. The devil's bargain for this is because of this thing and the draw of it, you have to indulge that sort of investigate weird stuff vice during downtime coming up. You'll have to do that. That's the
Okay.
devil's bargain. It will draw you in. That'll give you an extra dice, which if you take that plus the gambit has you rolling 4 dice.
Okay.
And keep in mind
I think you just confused me because we're like shifting from last week to this. So
yeah,
it's a little bit...
you are not at all alone in that. We're all still working this out. So if you're frustrated, please voice it because it could be me poorly explaining a thing. So the thing to remember, so that don't have any hurt feelings about it, is the devil's bargain is on regardless of how the dice go because it's the devil's bargain. So it's like, oh, I failed.
Yeah, I'm paying for the die is what I'm doing.
You're paying for the die by saying I will indulge my vice later. And I think that feels like a pretty good devil's bargain. How does that feel to everybody? I'm kind of happy with that. I think that sets a nice tone for the thing, honestly. So that's 2 for your resolve, 1 for gambit if you want it, and 1 for devil's bargain if you want it. So that's 4 dice.
Okay.
Cool. Go ahead and you got to answer all the questions on the dice roll to
That's fine.
get that happening. And
Does it make a difference if there's someone else in the galley?
I was about to ask. Oh, look at that resolve roll. Look at you. So that's so yes. It depends on what you mean, Dave. Could I help? Yes.
Well,
in this case, Margie already rolled, so I'm not really worried about it. But if somebody were there and it's like the mental resistance, there's no reason that somebody can't help really in any situation if you can figure out the fiction for it. Does that make sense?
sure.
Would she still be fascinated? Yes, still. That's still a risk, I think, pretty much, because this is sort of a follow-on effect from the roll that ended up last session.
I mark a stress.
So you mark 1 stress, which is great, honestly, as a resist goal, and that's kind of it. You resist the thing.
Yeah.
You feel the pull of the
I don't do
thing.
anything with the right. Okay, because it's.
Yeah.
I didn't do extraordinarily high or low. Okay.
Now you feel the pull.
And I'm able to put it off until downtime.
Yeah, you feel
That's the way I
exactly.
read it.
Basically, it's like, I'm not being pulled in by you yet. Exactly, pretty much. And yeah, I'm pretty sure the resist rolls really don't have levels and anything, so they don't. I'm just sort of discovering this right now to make sure that I'm right. But so check me on this. I'll say Mike, check me on this. But anybody, check me on this. The resistance rolls really don't have like a risky blah blah blah.
Really.
So they don't really kick in the mechanics of, well, you were rolling a risky or you were rolling a desperate, so that gives you XP or
Yeah,
that.
it's just because it's a.
It doesn't engage that part.
It doesn't come up when
Yeah.
when you click the box. So when you click on
Yeah,
like when I clicked on resolve,
it doesn't ask.
it only came up with the how many plus dice.
And that is that's a well-coded character sheet. But yeah, that particular machine does not engage those gears, and that's good to know. So you are tucking the thing away. We see maybe a slight hesitation of your hand over it just before you grab it.
I think what happens is I'm tucking it away. I notice something interesting on it, that I hadn't noticed before, and kind of I tick the back of my brain. And I'm going to have to look at that.
So we're going to go.
I'm going to have to check that out.
And Monster's in here. Is that why you? I believe I remember that, and Dave reminded me by asking that question. Is that correct?
Yes, monsters. I don't know that I had actually stated that
But
when we were taking
she-
off, but yeah.
Kay may not actually realize it anyway at this point. It's entirely fair that it wouldn't necessarily. So I'm going to ask these two questions in quick succession then. Kay, what's your biggest worry? That the thing in the case is some kind of elaborate hoax, lure, prank, trap for whatever corp / academic / bureaucratic / merc / drifter / scavenger stumbles across it, or it isn't?
And my greater fear is it isn't, because I'm at heart still an optimist.
And you're afraid that this thing isn't a hoax and that it's actually real and that's bad. Why?
I'm afraid of I believe it's not a hoax, and I'm afraid it's not a hoax because of sort of the implied change to the power structure that this would in other words,
that what could follow on
yeah.
from that.
I'm concerned that the device is real, because if it's real, then
It's a big
that
deal.
means we're potentially in a load of shit if somebody else knows what it is, or if it's real, then it implies that there's going to be a fairly significant shift in power levels.
Or political power levels, or blah, 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 all kinds of stuff.
In other words, that if this is what I think it is, Ark of the Covenant, right? If this is the Ark of the Covenant, I'm believing that it's real, and I fear that it's real, because if it is, and it has the powers that people believe in it, then that means
oh boy,
that things are changing.
Right. Okay. Good. Monster, what's the weirdest thing about this job so far? You haven't punched anyone or shot anyone yet. Kay found out something scientifical, mostly kept it a secret, and didn't make the smug secret face and give it away until after it mattered. Drifter didn't say what Drifter always says when things get quote-unquote interesting, and if so, what would that be? Armin hasn't edged towards the escape pod with the loot yet. This is really giving Dave the right to say things about other characters and what their thing is.
I know. And unfortunately, the really obvious answer, which had already occurred to me, was weirdest thing is did not punch or shoot anyone. I actually chose not to be punching a couple of times. Didn't even not punch because I was busy eating. Afraid might be losing edge. Hey, does anybody want a sparring session?
Now I want to punch people. That's funny. That's good. I like that. All right.
And I really wanted to come up with something clever that Drifter usually says, but nothing really came to mind.
Oh yeah, we'll get there. Let's actually. We were in the cockpit for a second, but we're going to get back. We're going to shift back to the content. Monster, you're watching her. Do you say anything as she's clipping this thing back into the box, or what?
I'm just watching because I don't trust all these artifact, attune, creepy space magic things. So if it looks like Kay's being taken over by evil spirits, I want to be in a position to intervene.
Okay.
Whatever that might look like.
Okay. Good to know.
Drop the device.
Yeah.
The device, or I cut off your hands.
We've discussed this thing. The other thing that you had put in here as a replacement was sort of looked like the thing from a Ouija board, the whatever it's called. But the actual thing on the mantelpiece was more of a heavier, thicker kind of deal, reminiscent of like the lock-in chevrons from like the Stargates kind of a deal. Just to kind of make sure that we're all aware of that visual. Drifter, getting out of a gravity well with armed ships in pursuit is a righteous pain in the sacrum. What or who gives you an edge in this while you're here on Warren? And did you already prep that edge just in case, or are you rushing to do so now as we cut back to the cockpit?
One thing I'd actually hoped for was has just kind of been invalidated by all this, but it was the idea that planetary security might not be expecting people to go right to space, so they're going to be flying, as we discussed in the forums, kind of in that forward aft configuration for their ships, but we would be jumping right into launch position because we know where we're going. So if people are just like wandering around the galley, like that's not going to apply.
Well, no, you can. I mean, you can certainly. You can So talking about antigrav, probably there's. I thought of another time when antigrav probably wouldn't be on is when you've got planetary gravity working. Like that becomes down mostly. I don't think antigrav would want to work against planetary gravity. So for right now, you're probably lifting out. But it's really, I mean, there are emergency strap-in positions in multiple locations around the ship. It's a necessary safety measure. So if you interrupt that scene with Monster about to say something with, "All right, guys, we're about to go vertical. You need to strap in."
It's fine.
Okay.
But the second thing is something that our doctor can actually help with. If he's got a shot that people can be given as they come through the door, kind of on the way to their seats, some sort of acceleration resistance drug, then we can probably burn faster and hotter than the ships that might be pursuing us.
I like that. I like that. I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm very happy that you have sort of, when you started to like pick up some of the sci-fi stuff, you've gravitated toward one that I really, really like because it has some elements in there that I really, really like. So that's definitely one that that's an element that I really, really like. So you want to holler for him then, and
yeah, or we could just say that we've worked out this procedure where
ahead of time,
like on a rapid evacuation, like this is one of the things that we do, one of the standard steps that we take.
Everyone gets a patch on their arm and goes off to do what they're doing.
Yeah. So yeah,
maybe a couple of extra patches in this case.
Well, yeah, I'm picturing this stuff like practically like a thick milky white, something that doesn't look like it would be at all comfortable going into a vein. Like that's way too thick for the heart to pump, isn't it? Like that doesn't look like something that's supposed to. I mean, maybe to glue a shoe sole back on, but to go in me, yeah. I am immediately thinking of there's a one of the Firefly episodes. I can't remember which one it is. It doesn't really matter. But everybody sort of like drops down onto like the couch on the side of the dining room, and Jane kind of goes through and is like sort of slapping everybody's like belt harnesses to make sure everybody's fastened. And I kind of picture this like, okay, everybody get, and having Sun kind of coming through going, you get a shot, you get it just really, really quickly and kind of methodically, dropping those shots in.
Monster, come back here. You need two.
And you have to belt in, and you need one in each arm.
I mean, if that works for James, I'm down with that.
I'm good with that.
All right, so I have a roll coming up then for Sun. To do that, in the meantime, I'm actually going to ask Drifter to give me this will be an initial help. Well, no. I'm going to wait on that. Let me look at this for just a second.
No, that's fine.
I feel like there's a roll or some maneuvering that happens before you suddenly go vertical and burn out of here. But I'm just waiting for the sheet to come up. I think they just changed how the sheets are handled in the thing.
While you're looking at that,
go ahead.
I took the opportunity to watch some of the Rocky Jones Space Ranger from the 1930s, 50s era movies. Their sets are literally like there's a control room where Rocky and his co-pilot sit, and then you go through a door, and the seats for everybody else is literally just recliners with seatbelts. I'm not even joking. Like you could buy these things at a furniture store.
Wow. When was this made? Back in the 70s, you said?
1954. It was
Oh wow,
black and
yeah,
white.
it's way
It was
back.
just, yeah.
That's crazy. I mentioned as far as visual inspirations or just inspirations in general, the like VSG or whatever it was. It's a we've had some trouble with trying to keep track of race games for the Switch, and there was one that had a reasonably decent like Metacritic score or whatever that was like for sale and down to like 50 cents on Switch that I picked up. And the videos for it look really cool, where it's like, oh, you're doing these arcs through space, and there's like these asteroids and stuff like that. It looks really cool. And then you play it, and it's freaking ridiculous. It's like back when people were playing Wolfenstein 3D, and they suddenly had that game out called Descent, except this thing has inertia on top of it. And every and Sean was trying to play it, that did not work, so I took over as, I slowly started to figure out even how the controls worked and everything like that. And I get done, and it's like there's 7 other computer people piloting. They finished this route in like a minute and a half, and I'm like 7 minutes to get through the thing. And I go,
there's, by the way, a VR version of the Descent game concept, and it is a trip.
Yikes. I can't imagine I wouldn't just fall over, because this thing is completely 3D. You just got to wheel around, and it's probably pretty cool. I need to maybe try and get better at it. Anyway, point is, I get the thing. I'm like, and that was the easy. Like they specifically had you pick easy, medium, hard. We picked the easy one. It gave us this map. I'm like, okay, let me see if any of the other maps are easier. You don't get to do that. Every other map that you can play is locked until you get first place in that map, in the first map. And all of the waypoints are around a station that is in the process of rotating. And let me tell you, over one race that took me 7 minutes, I got real tired of my son next to me going, oh, solar panels. Oh, there goes the solar panels. Because the solar panels for the station kept smacking me as I was trying to get through stuff, because they were apparently moving. They need gravity. I don't know. Anyway.
Joyce?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, a friend needs me to get them something real quick.
Okay.
So
we will get around to your shot here. What's going to happen is I'm going to have you roll a setup. It's a setup roll, and it rolls dice forward to Drifter for getting away. So actually, do you need to leave at this exact minute?
No,
okay.
I just remembered that I promised them that I would get them, and they weren't feeling good. And...
Okay, you go do the thing, and then come back, and we'll figure. Okay, do the thing. Let's look at you first. Then get your character sheet up.
Yep.
And we're rolling through, and you are giving shots. That is going to be a doctor roll. Do you want to spend? We're down. We should be down just to like 2 gambits, right? I think that's right. So you have 2 dice for doctor. You can roll a gambit dice into that to give you 3. I don't know. We could certainly figure out how assist would go or anything like that. But anybody have any ideas for any of that sort of thing or anything like that?
I'm trying to get a sense of why this is an unusual thing that's being, or what's unusual about this that requires a die roll.
He is, because what he's doing is going to make it it's going to make it so. What Drifter is going to do is fly the ship beyond what is typically done to people in this type of situation. In order to not have to worry about you guys stroking out and dying, you're going to get this shot, and also so is Drifter, so he doesn't stroke out and die, because he's going to pilot past capacity. He's this is usually only done for like military grade combat pilots. The doc has some of the stuff that they use for that. So he gets that. That gives then, if he does a successful roll, rolls the dice forward for Drifter to use for getting away. Either that, or functionally, we can just treat it like a regular success that advances the clock. Either one of those things works for me mechanically. It's a step towards getting away in either case. Either makes Drifter's roll better, or is just one of the things that you guys are doing to get away. There are downsides afterwards. There's, medical, medicine hangovers, that kind of thing. So you've got 2 dice to roll. You could throw in one for the. And I'm sorry, Dave, because I feel like I just did the thing that I got that I mentioned we need to do better on last time. So I hope, did I explain what's happening well enough to people to kind of understand what drama is happening here? Drifters basically said, I'm going to do like a really super hard burn straight out of like low atmo, basically from the planet's surface as a surprise move. But to keep you guys' eyeballs from falling out of your head, the doc's got to give you the shot that we've already kind of prepped in advance. And then, so Sun's got Doctor of 2 for 2 dice. Do you want to throw a gambit in? You certainly can. It's up to you. If I don't know what other assist rolls might be. What if somebody were to assist or anything like that? What would be happening there? So thoughts? Is 3 good? 3's probably good. 3's, I mean, the odds on 3 is quite good.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay, so go ahead and roll. It will ask you so click on Doctor, and it will ask you all the stuff. This is standard risky. It's standard risky. It doesn't really factor exactly because it's going to be rolling into somebody else's assist anyway. And that gives you the 554. Very nice. Double 5s, the poor man's crit, which is not a crit and does nothing. Cool. So you go. So Sun's going through as people are strapping in. Inject. Another shot for monster who grouses. Partly because of body mass monster, and partly because your body sort of treats this like a toxin and starts to eliminate it sooner than you really want it to.
Yeah.
It gives you this really bad taste in the back of your mouth too. Well, that's true for everybody. So, gummy deliciousness.
Nothing a bottle of sriracha will not take care of.
My God. That was. We'll get back to Sun's question later because we can do that after we're floating in orbit and that kind of thing. So the last question I really want to talk about is Armin. The ship is barely airborne, let alone in orbit. Who are you already reaching out to contact about the thing in the case in aid of generating some sweet, sweet creds from this swirling cyclone of crud you found yourselves in?
Well, the pragmatic part of my brain says nobody, because we haven't gotten away yet. And that seems like you don't want to negotiate from a position of weakness, and in the middle of a firefight is always the position of weakness.
So, accepting that answer, which I am, who do we see as we cut to you, like where are you at? Are you like up in the cockpit? Where do you prefer to be for this kind of crouch couch maneuver kind of thing? When the proverbial shit is about to hit the turbofan, where are you at?
Oh yeah, I'm in the cockpit because this is my money and it ain't going away.
Yep. So we're probably at like the comm station or something like that. It's sort of back and to the left kind of a deal. I think there's got it on the map, kind of a deal. And you're not calling anybody, but we get a shot of you and we see you flipping through screens. There's no real explanation for this. We don't know who you may or may not be looking at, like, or who they are or why you're looking at these folks. But who do we see, like, sort of you swiping, like Tinder swiping through as you're looking at this stuff up in the cockpit?
Yeah,
I have you like in the back left kind of spot here on this ship map.
I don't know. I don't have a great answer for this right now.
Okay. When we get back later, I want to hear about who were you considering? Or if people don't make sense, talk to me about factions.
Factions might make more sense.
Yeah, because actually I've got faces for most of the factions, at least that are currently on our radar. If you look at the factions and the systems and faction sheet, the character sheet for that, I've kind of got the people that we either already have status with, plus or minus, or people who we don't necessarily have, you guys don't necessarily have status with, but who know people that you know, or just kind of matter. You know what I mean? Like House Malkaith is on there just because it's House Malkaith, and they're probably going to matter. That kind of stuff. So yeah, think about that. If you look at the systems and factions over there, maybe that'll be something that you can think about, and we can talk about that kind of stuff. Anyway, cool, good answer. And we're going to go over here and look at setup. Set up another character with your action. If you achieve it, any team members who follow through on your maneuver get a +1 effect or improved position. So it's not actually a bonus dice. It's a +1 effect or improved position. So setup doesn't move. I'm looking at the rules reference. Oh, I didn't share that. Did I share that with everybody? I did not. Show to players. Show to everyone. I've got like a little summary sheet thing for some of the main mechanics and stuff to kind of reference. So what Sun was doing was that setup, which will let any team members who follow through on your maneuver get a +1 effect or improved position, which will come in handy given what we're doing in this particular situation. All right, so we have the planetary patrols, which Bill was alluding to, are definitely of the, no alerts have necessarily been sounded. We're not ready for this. You may have, but it's not the planetary folks you necessarily have to worry about. It's the 51st Legion guys that are potentially the pain in the sacrum. Mike has an answer now. Let's go back to Mike then for a quick.
Oh, I was gonna say I didn't need to interrupt, but
that's fine.
Yeah.
What was the faction? Or
the Night Speakers.
Really?
Because I want Marchie to talk me out of it.
We
read up on all the factions.
Marty quickly pulls open the book to look at the faction list.
The Night Speaker, yeah, definitely grab the book. I also pulled up a picture of like one of the faces of the Night Speakers. That's those folks that I put up in when we were originally doing visual inspiration, where there's a lot of people in black hoods and sort of cowls and long coats and stuff like that. That you guys were making jokes about. Well, various jokes about them being terrifying for various reasons. That's who I decided would kind of go to the Night Seekers. So that's an interesting person to see flipping by. And I can see you kind of going by like, no, not those guys. No, definitely not those guys. And then seeing you pause rather thoughtfully on the Night Seekers like rep that you may have a text number for or something, You've got their Snapchat contact or something. Space chat. And seeing you kind of pause thoughtfully on that just before Drifter does his thing. Okay, so I'm looking at a couple different things here. Our little crew is quality level 1. Is that a true statement? Mike? I think it is, isn't it?
No, we're zero.
We're 0? That's great.
Yes.
That's super. Okay.
Now, how do we know that by looking at the sheet?
Yeah, that's a good question.
What am I looking for?
On the sheet, it is the crew right under where it says color and look at the top.
And the crew is
we
like
have 0 checks in there.
Yeah. So you start out as like a entry level dude.
So this ship gains potency when we scramble our helm to avoid capture or run a blockade, which it sounds like we're doing.
So that functionally makes us like sort of a crew strength of 1.
And I have potency on all speed related rolls, which this probably would be.
Yes. Now I think that doubles up? I feel like that doubles up.
It does.
It stacks. So that functionally makes us, for the purposes of getting the hell out of here quickly And this is very important to remember. You're basically 2 levels better at getting the hell away from something quickly, as long as Drifter is piloting in this ship. It's also worth noting that it isn't just running away in the ship. Your crew is good at getting away from stuff. The getaway, when you scramble or helm to avoid capture or run a blockade. So that applies to you guys running through the streets kind of thing. It didn't come up in terms of potency because you weren't actually rolling directly against folks for whom that would matter, except for Monster's friend, who already she's already got potency against like small groups, so you guys kind of balance each other out in that point. All right, so that brings you up to 2. This is actually going to work out pretty well for you. If we then look at the systems and factions sheet that I was just talking about with Mike, which is there under characters down towards the bottom of the character list, and look at the character sheet, and look at, I don't have them up here. That was silly of me. Under the hegemony, I am going to add, it's probably already in there, but I'm going to add it anyway. Legion, they are tier 3, and you don't have any stats with them right now. So we'll just let it be like that, just so that they're in there as a reference. And that's basically who we have to worry about. Now they're tier 3, which technically makes them a level higher than you. However, I'll be a little bit meta about this, but for a couple of different reasons, one of which, they don't technically have permission to be operating on planet without approval, and I mean planets. Like, there's supposed to be operations that have been rubber stamped to do things, and they have this in most cases, but one of the places that they don't is Warren. There has to be, because it's like the seat of power for the governor, and the governor does not just generally give them carte blanche to go stomping around his backyard. So they're having to operate on the down low, and functionally speaking, this reduces their potency. So you guys are, at this point, even up on them in terms of relative potency or thing, which is great, because in a lot of situations, like say if this were a running gun battle, you guys would be in a very bad situation, like facing off against these guys. But right here, right now, you're in a good way. Now,
I'm back, by the way.
great. And I think you might, in fact, have an advantage, because let me see if I got this math right. You guys are crew level 0. The ship gives you a potency level of 1 for getting away. Drifter gives you a extra potency level for speed-related maneuvers, blah, blah, blah. That gets you up to a 2. And we just had Sun give you guys a shot, which either increases your effect level or your potency. So you kind of have to decide how you want to use this, but it could potentially bring your potency up to a 3, which actually makes you better than them functionally for this role. Alternately, if I say, for example, this is a risky standard maneuver, you could say, let's keep it risky, but make it a great result, which what that's going to do is advance the clock in a big jump forward, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
And I'd like to check, so
yeah, because that
make it so number 1.
So if you have the potency up to great, that's actually 3 checks, isn't it?
No, it's effect that matters for checks.
That's what I was saying. If it goes up to great, wouldn't it be 3? I thought standard. So let's say you're moving a clock and you succeed at a standard roll with like a 5, just a whatever. Isn't it? That's 2 checks, isn't it?
I thought it was 1.
And we shall go to the book, and we will get better at this. Won't we get better at this? We will all get better at this. Somewhere under clocks. Clocks. Progress clocks.
Well, not the first thing I wanted to see whenever I when I searched for clocks in the book.
What's that?
This adventure.
Oh, hush. Really?
Uh-huh.
Well, I told you it was right out of the book, so
I know, but I was just like,
Honestly, we're so far off the reservation from that anyway, it hardly matters. But
uh-huh.
at this point, it's just the setup. Hey, you find a dead guy when you're supposed to deliver something to him. What happens next? Everything else is just go, GM.
Yeah, it's always going to change. But it was just like funny, just being like,
Mission clocks, tug of war.
start at 10 o'clock, and I was like, that sounds really. Oh, I'm
Yeah,
here.
that's this. Yeah. Hey, that's us. Is it really? It's suddenly we're in a Spaceballs, the scene from Spaceballs, where you're looking at the videotape of your own movie.
Well, when is that?
In Spaceballs?
No, that was the line.
Oh.
When is that? Well, this is now.
Where? Oh, here it is. Page 26. Standard effect is 3 ticks on the clock. Standard effect is 2 ticks on the clock. A great effect is 3. So if you move it up to if you use the shot from Sun to increase effect, that gets us up to risky, great, which does tons for advancing the clock and getting you guys the hell out of here, if that makes sense. So what that would be is a risky, great roll for Drifter to power up out of here. Drifter is that's the ship sheet. Drifter is Helm 2, and with all the potential caveats there of how many dice we want to throw at this, we have, if I'm not mistaken, 1 gambit left. We can also, you can push yourself, take stress to take another dice. There could be an assist roll if you have a cool way of figuring out how you would assist. So I mean, just ticking things off on the top of my head, it's, you got 2 dice for Helm. Gambit's an easy dice. Push yourself is an easy dice.
Yeah, I'm pushing and accepting a gambit or taking a gambit. I will take an assist if anybody has an idea, but if not, I'm just gonna roll it.
Yeah, the easiest one would be if somebody had like rig or rig, yeah, rig. But I'm not sure anybody has that just yet.
Well, even if not, I mean, it's an assist. We don't actually have to have a skill.
That's true. I mean, if somebody wants to like have strapped in back in the engine room or something like that, so they can like,
go Drifter, go.
Four dice is probably pretty good. I mean, we don't know enough necessarily about the system to push any harder than that. Are we good with 4?
Yeah, I'll just see how this goes.
I like that we've emptied the gambit pool for all of this. Okay, so we've got.
Will it help if I intimidate him?
Probably not.
Okay.
Maybe the opposite of that. All right, so we have a total of 4 dice. We are risky, we are great, and we will see where we go. That is a 6. That is a solid, no bad success, no bad stuff success. So that is awesome. So this is about where we are. We get a shot of this, like the ship sort of like floating up through this area, and then kind of rotating. And the guy, I want this shot because this is such a shot. But the ship actually kind of rotating on its axis to point up. And the guy's head, as he's watching this ship, kind of tilting to the side, like he's like leaning kind of his head over, like just, what the hell are you? And then the engine's firing off, and the dude getting kind of blasted backwards off of that like sign that he's on, back onto like a patio or something that's back.
One hopes.
Yeah, just and like kind of smacking back into like an awning or something, and kind of threw the awning into somebody's like fish stall or something like that, or sushi stall.
Cabbages.
As the thing kind of like blasts this white light rising up out of Warren. And it even at the speed that you guys are going, it takes a little while to get up and out of this. Ricks. I mean, Warren goes down a long ways. Um, Armin's the only other one in the cockpit really, and Drifter's kind of busy. But I mean, Armin, you're seeing and we see a shot of Armin, and then Armin kind of like as the thing is shaking and kind of barely turning his head, in the kind of shuddering seat and stuff like that, and looking kind of bloodshot eyes from the G's pushing him back in the seat, kind of looking out the side window and seeing this kind of going by as you rise up out of the top layers of Warren and up into the sky, straight white trajectory. You even see one of those sort of heavy armed ships, similar to the one that was like laying down before, like sort of turning, pivoting, and there's actually sort of an abortive attempt of the thing to kind of like start to accelerate and gun your way like towards that ship that's headed up, and it just stops. It's like, and then kind of like, nah, I'm never gonna get that. No, I just, that's not happening. As you're powering up and away from that, that's really cool. I like that. So that is. And I'm just kind of, at the same time as this is happening, kind of going up into the ship thing and advancing that clock. So that's 3. Since it was a great effect, that advances the clock on this thing 3. There's like one more segment kind of to fill, and some of this, this is you guys are already like you get into low orbit with an alacrity. But thanks to the shot, nobody passes out. Nobody's feeling real great, but nobody's passing out from the G's as you're pressing up out of the atmosphere. And no damage to the ship, nothing like that, because hey, the baby held together. Up in, I want to find the right kind of ship here. Those two. Yeah. This won't work. Okay. So what's the move, Drifter, when you get up out of the gravity well far enough to maneuver? What's the move here to get far away as fast as you can? Like what do you, is it just power and keep the juice on and see how hard you can hold, how long you can hold 12 G's and just not expect a 51st Legion to be ready to dump, to dump an entire, to dose up an entire Marine Corps worth of, an entire platoon's worth of Marines on the stuff to keep them from passing out while their pilot's crew tries to keep up with you, or what's the plan there?
I feel like they've probably got some fast interceptors or something like that. They eventually scramble. So once we're up high enough, we're going to get to the point where there's a lot of satellites and a lot of other ships, and really all they can track us by is our emissions and our silhouette.
Mm-hmm.
So our job is duck into the crowd, so to speak, and blend and make them lose that sensor lock on us.
Okay.
And that will cost them time, basically scanning the skies for, hey, where'd they go? And in the meantime, we will try to reposition ourselves to kind of act casual. I don't know if you saw the movie Drive.
I did.
Okay, that opening thing where he's getting away from the cops, he's just like, all I'm going to do is hide out and just be cool, and they're eventually going to catch up with me, and then we're going to do it again. Like that's kind of how I picture this.
Very cool. I like that. It's ironic to me because the ship chase kind of thing kind of overlaps to Eve a little bit in my head, and one of the guys that I played Eve with as sort of like a runner of the corp that we were in was deeply mentally scarred by Drive. Like I don't know. he had so many people tell him it was cool, and then he watched it, and he just found it to be like a weirdly inaccessible film mentally for him. So we would just randomly drop drive gifts whenever we wanted to like derail him. We would drop drive gifts up in there. So there's a weird drive/Eve overlap for me. So as you're pulling up, you mentioned like there's going to be patrols, going to be fast intercept ships, kind of a thing. You're coming up into low atmosphere, like you say, messy area around Warren, which is a moon over this large green swirling toxic gas giant. That's really kind of this wall of backdrop. If you've seen some of the shots of sort of I want to say like Jupiter's moons tracking across the face of Jupiter, and how insignificant, like the entire back of the screen is Jupiter. It's not even remotely all of the planet, and these tiny little marbles of moons tracking across the face of the thing. And that's kind of what what it's like when you don't see it so much on Warren because you're down below the building lines, and you don't see the gas giant looming over the whole thing. But you get out here, and it's half of your horizon. I mean, unless you turn completely away from that planet, it's impossible not to have that thing looming there. You get all this kind of trash, but you do immediately get one of those, and you'll see it on Armin. You'll see it on your screen as well. It like one of those.
By the way, there's a relevant image in Roll20 chat.
Yes, love it. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're on one. That's like on one of the services for one of Jupiter's moons, and it's just all Jupiter all over the far side, the backdrop, which is crazy. And it's kind of like that, but green, and that nasty sort of glowing green. But you do get sort of a red bleep bleep kind of contact in amongst all the other contacts. That's definitely fast mover, definitely military, definitely actively scanning, with the kind of scanning lasers that on weaker ships have to be watched, because if they stay on a weaker ship, you might actually do hull damage. The telemetry quickly the ship pulls up telemetry and kind of matches it. So you don't get a visual of the ship in this way, but you do get basically this image or something very similar to it in sort of a spinning 3D model to say this little red dot on the screen means it's one of these things, with this thing kind of pivoting around, and it doesn't look, it looks unfriendly. Okay, so we need to fly casual. We need to fly casual and look like everybody else. What's that look like? Probably part of it is helm. We're out of gambits. I'll say that. I'll point that out. Part of it is definitely helm, but if anybody has skulk and feels like they could apply that to electronics, sort of chaff generation, comm chatter generation, interactions with other ships up here, that kind of stuff as a sort of like this is how I'm aiding kind of thing. Any of that, any thoughts on that where you guys can sort of like go into that routine of how do we act like we're harmless so we can get the hell out of here kind of deal. So this is, again, I feel like this is sort of an opportunity to like look at something that you guys have probably done before. Hopefully, as a group where it's like, okay, we're up where we can be sort of lose ourselves in the proverbial crowd, but what does that look like? And how does that get called out amongst the group where everybody goes, okay, I know what I need to do here?
Would you say it's skulk or scramble?
Scramble's, I think, that's definitely physical. Skulk is more like being sneaky in whatever way sneakiness applies. So it may be electronically speaking, it may be, signals, comms. I could also see, honestly, I could see sway or consort, probably sway if you're like immediately identifying some other like another ship that you may or may not know up here that you can kind of like uh sort of fly a bit of a convoy kind of a thing, fall in line, that kind of a deal, do me, pull me a favor kind of a deal. So there may be a little comms thing where you do a little tight beam laser communication saying, hey, I need a little bit of cover over here. Can we fly like we're, shipping out cargo kind of a thing? I want to kind of lose myself in amongst all your cargo containers kind of a deal. That kind of thing. This isn't necessarily the main role. It's
the extra things that go
yeah,
on.
nothing need be rolled. It's just a question of, is anybody aiding, and if so, how? And this is entirely really narration and the willingness to throw in a couple of stress, or is it just one? Is it one for an assist?
Just one to aid.
Yeah, one stress to aid, and kind of saying how you're, what you're doing. So this is spending team out of the pool. It's just you're going to give him the bonus. It's just a question of what's it look like. Going around and see if anybody has any ideas. I'll start with Armin since he's already sitting up there in the cockpit and may have something.
No, I'm good.
No? All right. And Drifter, what do you say like over the ship comms and stuff to just kind of let people know what stage you're at, like what the plan is, kind of a deal to kind of slip out of here?
I think I'm going to have sort of that cheerful, happy-go-lucky tone and say, yeah, Legion 51 interceptors are now approaching, and it looks like they're trying to get a lock on us, including our thermal signature. So anybody who has any great ideas, please bring them to our attention, and we'll get right on that.
This leads me to
like as a player, you can tell me almost any ability on the sheet, and I can give you an idea if people want to roll dice but don't have inspiration. But yeah, go ahead.
Maybe not scramble, and maybe not scrap. But
no, I can come up with something for scramble.
Okay, then maybe scramble.
So I would like to jump in here.
Okay.
I'm sort of pulling out who's in the neighborhood, looking at who's in the neighborhood, and I identify an ore ship.
Okay, cool.
Or on one of my digs.
Lovely thing about that is that falls nicely under study, which is great. And
way.
Well, it doesn't really matter since you're not really rolling the dice. It's just a question of like study, and you actually are kind of strong at that. And sifting through data, which is what this is basically. I mean, the joke has been made many times. Eve is basically a game of spreadsheets, and nothing looks more like a very limited spreadsheet than when you jump up next to a station that has 200 ships orbiting around it, and you're like quickly trying to sort through that spreadsheet to figure out if there's somebody there who's about to kill you. And if you think I'm joking, that's exactly what you're like, frantically trying to shift through that little 4-column spreadsheet to see if there's anybody there that's blinking. And hope to God you coded the spreadsheet so that the bad guys do blink. And that's a lot of.
I was thinking more of sway as in talking them into.
Sure, and it can. In this case, it's
dropping some pollution.
Right. In this case, it's absolutely a combination of that, where like we get to see a little bit of all of K in the sense of this assist, because you're a quick study, flipping through things. We see her quickly sorting through the data, scroll, find this thing, tap, pull this over into another screen. That's a tight beam communication thing. What's the captain's name? You're gonna get Erm. Hi. Listen.
Dude.
we have a little bit of a. I was wondering if you could, kind of a deal. What's this sound like? What's this little thing sound like? Like what's the ask here? You want him to like kind of have a little accident where he dumps one of the shipping containers that has ore and kind of scatter a bunch of highly refractive malachite into the space lanes here and kind of a deal? Is that the ask?
I was thinking more of like, kind of the shipping equivalent of emptying your bilge, but
Oh, but yeah,
oh, you don't want to go over there.
it's like, well,
Oh,
big
no.
warning here, guys. We dumped out our what's the like the dross filter or something for a mining thing. It's like
bilge malfunction. You really don't want to come over here.
nice.
Trust me.
Okay.
Cleaning up as fast as we can.
Yeah, so
Big radiation leak, very dangerous.
and I like this a lot because we get to see how fast you can handle data, the fact that you're familiar with it, and we also get to see some context that you made in the past. So there's a little bit of a thing. So there's just a few seconds, and so Drifter's like, any ideas anybody has? And we already see Kay kind of pivoting, still in the crash couch, over to one of the, grabbing the edge of the counter where the keyboard's at, pulling herself kind of around and over to it, laying the chair lock into that position of that place, tapping through the data screens, pulling the guy up, little chit chat, catching up old times, ha ha ha. Listen, a little bit of a favor to ask for you. Could you maybe have a little bit of a, whatever.
Right, and I'll tell Drifter to head towards the ore ship, the
yeah,
golden nugget.
Yeah,
Ha
come about to 271, and you're going to want to raise altitude off the towards the Mercada or at blah blah blah. You're going to want to come up at about 45 degrees and head 271. There will be cover real soon.
You just have to avoid the trash.
And somebody's going to have to draw the short straw for cleaning the ship later. So for Margie, for that, Kay marks 1 stress, and hands an assist dice over to Drifter for a helm roll.
Yay.
Can we do multiple assists? Is there
Yeah.
just like one person assisting? So if anybody
No,
else
you can do as many assists as you want.
yeah, if anybody else had a cool thing, I mean honestly, I think I'm fine with the way it is. I'm also think it's hilarious that if half the people on the ship are suddenly like pivoting around, it's like, no, I've got a thing, and everybody, so like basically chaos erupts, because this person's doing that and this person's doing that, also that kind of stuff. So if anybody has anything else, by all means kick in.
I had an idea of
Oh, let's hear.
more dice I wanted. I know the codes for like medical emergencies.
I love that. My ear when you said I know the codes for, my ears pricked up so hard that I think I damaged the inside of my headset.
And can set it up so that either it looks like we have a medical emergency and thus need to get out quickly, or someone else needs to be shuttled around quickly to get down to a landing site.
Yeah, so the fun thing you could do, like even with a comm laser, is like broadcast the medical emergency thing, but like bounce it off of something highly refractive.
I was going to say, is there something? Is there infrastructure here?
Oh,
that would guarantee that.
Yeah,
would need.
Bill's established there's satellite, space trash, other ships. The ships probably wouldn't be. You need something with a high albedo, but there are things like that out here. So you bounce a comm laser off that, so the signal kind of refracts. So there's like this medical emergency thing. Everybody move, but the signal's coming. Like nobody can really tell which ship it's coming from. So you hear the ambulance alarm. Everybody's trying to decide if they need to pull over, but nobody can figure out. Everybody's looking in their rear view, and nobody can figure out where the hell the ambulance is, kind of a thing. If you've ever seen that on traffic, I don't know. You're lucky. I've seen it. It's not fun. Because everybody wants to do something, but nobody knows quite what to do. I love that. I love the fact that you're using the medical emergency thing. That is a lot of fun. If you mark a stress on your character sheet, that will add another dice over to Drifter, which gives him a total of 4 without having to go into any kind of devil's bargain or push himself again or anything like that. So he can just sort of fly
Oh
casual.
no, I'll push. Bring it on.
I mean, if you want to, by all means. But I mean, that right there is 4 dice, and if you push, that'll give you 5 and give you 4 stress. I think a total of 4 stress.
Yeah, I'm pretty okay with that.
Are we pretty good at that point? All right. If that's true, go ahead and give the roll. This is I'm not going to do anything special. This is risky standard. So we'll just kind of let that lie as it is. I like the fact that although we didn't touch it for a long time and kept refilling the gambit pool, we've managed to empty it out right at the end of the escape thing. Woo! Yikes. But we got that 5. So that's good. Consequences on this. Okay, so
I mean, I have a suggestion if you want.
Go ahead, by all means. I've got something kind of in the back of my mind where when they replay the sort of telemetry and stuff from the flight paths and stuff like that, they'll be able to say, there, that ship, that's the one. That was them. They got lost here. We lost visual on them, but that was definitely them. And they're gonna have like a signature or something to go by, a drive signature or something like that to track later. But that's my suggestion, that they have. It's going to translate to a little bit more heat in the system. But if you've got something else, definitely let me know.
Not directly that. I actually wanted to play off of Margie's thing where she's got this captain that she knows.
Ooh, I like that.
And somebody picked up on that communication. And so now they're going to talk to that guy.
I like it. So I'll worry about the actual particulars of what that actually means later. But yeah, if they when the investigation happens, that guy's going to get a questioning, and it's going to be some backtracking and stuff like that. So that leaves them an opening.
But it also means that somebody gets irritated with us who's not the cops.
Right. Or at least irritated, maybe not necessarily be it, but feelings a little bit hurt. Kind of a thing. It's like, you got us in trouble with the 51st Legion. I've got the work out here. That kind of stuff. No, it's good. I like it. Margie, are you okay with that? I want to make sure you're okay with that because it's kind of, it's your people you just introduced, and they'll end up being a little bit miffed when it's all said and done. Alternately, we just go for the heat thing, and there's a little bit more. They've got a little bit more intel on our ship.
Was I on mute?
I think so, because you didn't answer until you said I might.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay,
That's
cool.
great.
Cool. All right. So, right, that'll be something that comes up, we'll see that later, kind of a thing. So, chaos, moderate chaos, but chaos nonetheless, sort of breaks out. You have to be kind of an expert to see it sort of in the flow of the ships and stuff like that. But there's definitely sort of a ripple effect where ships are unsure, kind of hesitating, not sure what they need to be doing, all this other kind of stuff. One ship seems to have been so urgently trying to get out of the way that he slapped the wrong control panel, and now there's crap floating around all through the space thing. Other ships are veering out of the way of all this kind of stuff that's been voided out into lanes where it should never have been voided out to. One of them flies directly through it, kind of. That scatters it even more. And that ship kind of just keeps heading out that same direction. And pretty soon it's just out a little bit further. And the drives kind of come on a little bit brighter and push out a little bit harder. And they just kind of fade out into the black as, the things sort of get sorted out. You see a couple of those little flashing, they're not cop lights, but they're like really intensely bright white flashing LEDs as various orbital control and command ships kind of get in. It's like, bringing people back into line, or bringing people, reminding people what the orbits are. There's been no emergency, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. And meanwhile, this ship is sort of fading into the black and kind of, until there's just no light really directly shining on it. And it's just kind of, out there. And that's certainly the last mark that we needed. Actually, one more than the one we needed to get past and get out off to the thing. Cool. This will become second nature. I keep telling myself that, but man, right now, it's like learning how to ice skate. There's a lot of falling down and banging my tailbone, but we're getting there. All right. If you guys give me just a minute here, I am going to go grab something to drink and make sure everybody's tucked in who needs to be tucked in, all that kind of good stuff. And then we'll come back here and we'll kind of, I think we'll go, I want to go through the process of downtime and all of that stuff so that we see, what that looks like.
If you think we have time for that.
Well, I don't know. So, but I do know that we need to do it, and I would like to start afresh next session. And also, we're going to have some questions here, and I know that there's a conversation to be had about all this other stuff. Actually, the first thing I want to do is like have everybody. I want to start with the scene of everybody in the galley going, okay, what the hell did we just get in trouble for? That's what I want to start with, and we'll see what else we get to, and if we have to start next session by if we have to start next session by doing the downtime, then that's fine too. Whichever actually works. Cool? So give me just a minute here and I will be back. That was weird. All right. I'm back. And nobody can hear me. Nobody can hear me.
I can hear you.
Okay, good.
We can hear you.
Yeah.
All right. So
I will note, by the way, that you have never gotten to Sun and his question.
oh, didn't I? Oh, son,
Nope.
thank you. Thank you so much. I would have been mad. All right, son, I had a question for you. That I didn't get a chance to ask you earlier. But we can do this right now because we're out and away. The ship's flying away, and probably people are sort of like starting to gather in the galley. But we'll get a shot still of you, like sort of in the crash couch, um, at the console that you were at when you sort of sent out the thing. Who were you hoping to catch up with on Warren after the job was done, assuming it went well? Business, personal, Viva la Revolution. Um,
Um, I was going to try and catch up with uh, a former student of mine.
and to what end? I mean, who are they to you other than just a student? Like it was just like a friendly drop-in thing, or was there something you wanted? Uh, some sort of
Uh,
attachment that you wanted to reestablish?
well, I wanted to catch up with them because I had heard that after I had left, uh, they had some problems, and
Like
as their former mentor, I
like
felt a
like academic problems or some heat that from fell down on them somehow, or
uh
in what way did they have problems?
they were they ended up getting involved in some low level crime.
Oh,
Uh
did they ever graduate, or did they end up sort of
yeah,
like?
they ended up working as a doctor.
So this was like after their time in class, but or time in school, but um, some weird stuff there. Um, did you? Was it going to be a surprise drop-in, or had you already like reached out to them and told them you were coming?
It was going to be a surprise.
So they don't necessarily know that you stood them up.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, we get. I mean, for the sake of foreshadowing or whatever, we get a what he, she, they, human, Xeno. What are we seeing on the screen here as you're like kind of looking at it going, with this sort of like, ah, damn it, kind of, expression on your face?
Uh human, younger guy, uh grew
Okay.
up oh
Well, we're not going to see very much because again, it's just sort of like info on a screen, maybe possibly like a contact screen, like click here to send a message, that kind of a
ah,
thing. So we see that it's a doctor, younger male, younger human male, on Warren, you know, that kind of stuff, and you kind of going, that kind of just enough to get an idea that there's somebody there on Warren that you are planning on contacting and didn't get a chance to because everything sort of went sideways. Is that cool?
yeah.
I
Yep.
like it. We will have something to circle back to then later. I like it. We'll get. I'll get after you for a name or something later as we get further into that.
He's on my list
Oh, is he? Cool.
of people.
Oh, I love it. Perfect. Even better. Using the
It's
list.
Judah.
Cool.
If I can, yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Let me get in there. Oh, Judah, doctor. Perfect. Great. I'll make a note of that. See if I can. If you have a good, if you have an image that you're like, I want the guy to look like this or whatever, um, then that's cool. If not, I'll use Aida from My Hero Academia or something like that. 'Cause that.
I'll find one.
Okay. Cool. Um. Okay. So. I'm trying to think how I do. I mean, God, There's so many bad habits I have in the back of my mind, but I kind of, on one hand, I kind of want to pull. This is the part where in an old sci-fi game that I was running in the late '90s, I would like take my uh, um, Armin's character and Kay's character into another room, and we role play through an entire scene while you guys twiddle your thumbs, so they get caught up on information, and you guys have to come back in and regurgitate all of it. So
Silly question about that.
yes, go ahead.
What purpose does that serve?
None whatsoever. I'm just saying there's that instinct there to say this is the order of events, so this is the events that they should happen in the game. It's not. I'm pointing it out as like look at this bad habit I have. You know, some people smoke. You know.
Yeah,
I,
fair enough.
I pull people in the. You know, I have in the past pulled people in the side rooms. It's they're not good habits. Anyway. I don't know. Surprise factor, having somebody know a thing, whatever. Okay, so any objections if we just set this scene right into the galley and have everybody kind of hanging out in there with the case sitting on the table and I mean, who is the person who says, okay, what did we just get in trouble for? Or what is that thing? Or
when are we going to eat?
I think everyone knows what the question is in the room. And Monster, yes. When are we going to eat?
Well, if no one else will, I will. It'll be like, kind of like look over at,
K.
Oh geez, K, and just be like, I didn't think this job was worth this much. This is far too many problems for this much pay.
And you knew that it was so I'm gathering from your statement right there that you knew that, I mean, because you and Kay both knew that the thing had been swapped out of the case. But I gathered from that she never really explained what she thought it was, just that it was a big deal, potentially. Does that track for everybody present? Unmute. Yeah. Nod audibly if true. Or
Nod.
well, I'm just saying. I mean, somebody may be nodding along, or possibly nodding muted, and that kind of thing. So, Margie, do you want to explain your reservations about explaining it first, or do you want me to say this is what this thing is and go from there first? Like why you were reluctant to kind of, or explaining why you're reluctant to even explain what you think it might be, or do you want to just get into like this is what I think it might be and why that's bad? I'm asking more like from Kay's.
I'm not hearing you.
Right,
Yeah.
I was mute.
Okay. I'm asking more from,
I
and the reason I'm asking this is because I'm asking sort of like as an establishment of Kay's character, is she more likely to say, this is why I'm reluctant? I just want to explain why I'm reluctant to get into this, and so I'm putting all my caveats ahead of time before you, so nobody gets their hopes and or horrors up? Or do you dump it first and then say, now listen, this is why this is a may not be what we think it is? Like which way does which way does Kay usually, does she dump? I remember you being like information wants to be free kind of thing. So I don't know if it's a dump the information and bring the caveats afterwards kind of thing or what.
think it's professorial to put your put up the arguments against first, and then one by one tick them off as to.
Okay, all right. So
in other words, build the
build the case against before we say
by yeah.
All right. So yeah, acknowledge that there is argument against before you say what it looks like it is. Okay, so how do you explain? So let's hear this part. How do you explain to everybody like what the potential problem here is based on the stuff that we've said in the past, like your worries about it, like what if it is true, all that kind of stuff, like just assuming that sort of Ark of the Covenant kind of assumption about the thing.
So, well, first I didn't want to say anything because, I hadn't had a chance to really look at it. And, all I knew is that it was probably more valuable than what we were getting ourselves into with it.
Yeah, certainly what it looked like you guys were going to get paid was nowhere near what something like this would theoretically be worth if it was what you thought it was. But that's not necessarily an indicator of everybody. That could just be somebody pulling a fast one on you. So that supports that.
This puts me in a bit of a quandary because, as you know, my interest is in the science and in the understanding. And it would be really fascinating to study this artifact. Very dangerous. And I'm concerned that the historical value of the piece dwarfed compared to the potential power of its use. If it's anything like what I think it might be, it could is the entire hegemony, kind of, maybe. So here, and then I start describing what it is.
Okay. There'll be an opportunity when we actually start talking about what you've earned XP for this session. But honestly, if there wasn't something in place for what you just did, I would give you XP just for so perfectly nailing on the head exactly what your reservations are going to be about this, while at the same time not knowing one fucking clue as to what this thing actually is. You nailed it perfectly without knowing at all what was going on. So bravo. So Kay kind of flips open the case, and you guys, again, you see this kind of chevron thing. It's pretty good time. And again, that weird, especially if you look closer to it, the sense of, and it's not quite in the original, like the shape. Monster had seen this thing, possibly. I'm not sure if Monster, Dave, you have to tell me whether Monster would have noticed a little weird kind of unfolding thing they did. But that sense of the thing isn't like a solid piece that's carved to look like it's folded stuff, but that it's actually folded stuff that looks like a solid thing. Like unfolded, this could be much bigger kind of sense here. And also the sense that if it ever unfolds, if you're too close to it, that would be bad. How much any of you actually pick up on this may be a function of what your attune rating is. Who knows?
Everybody has an attune other than me.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, anybody can roll an attune, but yeah, it is a little tricky.
I have one.
You have one.
Ooh.
I love the fact that you two were the ones that have that. That's fantastic. And it also kind of suits here. Margie, and everybody, we can just kind of assume that eventually that as she said, and then I kind of explain what it might be. So assume this assumption. This looks like an artifact, much rumored, often mentioned, dreamed of, sought after throughout this sector, known as the Aleph key. In the sense of the in some alphabets, I should say, thing. The Aleph key is supposed to be one of, and I thought I had a note here, and I don't think I do. At least I can't find it immediately. Oh, I know where it is. Never mind. There are at least, well, what it's supposed to do, put very simply, is turn on that gate that isn't on. What's the name of that gate? The one over in the.
I should know that.
Starts with an
whole
H.
guy that
Starts with an
that's
H.
all they want.
Yep, starts with an H.
I don't have it on my character sheet. It's in my notes.
Yep.
It's just reading because it's Sorry.
And where's that map? Oh, there it is. All right, let me yank over the Procyon sector thing because it's going to have it there. Procyon sector map is right. Eventually, oh wait, actually I have it right there.
Not the Holt. That's the one that's unstable.
Yeah, it's good grief. Oh, it must be
It's mentioned in because
The Hama Gate.
the Hama Gate.
I knew it started with an H.
So yeah, the Hama Gate, which is in the system. So the system that the Hama Gate is in, Holt, the gate from Rin over to Holt is also not super stable because they kind of had to force that gate open in the first place.
That's where the ghost came from?
Oh, I can't remember. Although I love that overlap, and if it's not true, it may be now. I have to go dig in. I can't remember what the deal is with the ghosts. They were definitely, yeah, they were definitely doing some experimentation with artifacts, and the phasing got out of hand. And there's some stuff there. So there's a gate out of Holt that is the Hama Gate that certainly Monster has a thing pointed at, with thinking that that's the way home kind of deal. It's in the Holt system, which wasn't supposed to be. I mean, for a long time wasn't, and people still have. There are still factions in the Procyon sector and people in the Procyon sector, just general people who aren't part of factions, who have strong feelings about whether or not Holt should have ever been opened up as a colonizable system or anything like that, because it was closed, and maybe it was closed for a reason, that kind of stuff. The gate's never been stabilized entirely, and maybe
so the ghosts are the ones that were made into ghosts, going through the Holt Gate.
Oh, right.
What they want to do is they want to destroy the Holt Gate
because they think it might undo whatever, or that ultimately there's other fallback and stuff like that. Thank you. That's a great catch on that. This is not. So people have studied the gate in Holt, the Hama Gate. There are missing components in the Hama Gate that would need to be there to be activated, or substitutions. There was one or two of those that were found or forced for the original Holt Gate, hence the instability, hence the problems. The sections, the pieces that are missing have been named keys. You have the Aleph keys, the primary main one that people tend to reference, and I would have sworn I had a note here about the other keys. But
it's the Cult of the Seekers, but I don't see a name of the keys in here.
Right. No, it isn't, because I projected it forward. It varies. Also, there's a lot of theories about it. Once people had the Aleph key, they've kind of worked forward from alphabets that have Aleph as that primary one, and the other keys are sort of named for the next 3 or 4 letters in the alphabets that Aleph is derived from. And I don't know why it isn't saved where I thought it would be saved, so I'll have to go digging for it and stuff like that and get those other theories out. But just, it's the A key, the B key, except it's, A or Aleph and Ged, or I don't remember I don't know the alphabets well enough, and I'm not going to go.
It's the Hebrew alphabet.
It's
so whatever.
Hebrew or Aramaic. There's a couple different alphabets that share very similar pronunciations and slight variations on the first, and certainly the first 4 or 5 of the alphabets. Well, actually, the alphabet style itself is actually named for the sound of the first 3 letters in the alphabet. And I can't for the life of me. I'm not going to go digging through Wikipedia right now at this point. So, oh, look what we found.
Aleph, Beth, Gimel.
Yeah, Aleph, Beth, Gimel, and then there's whatever the 4th one is. Deleth, yeah. Yeah, there isn't a government on this planet that wouldn't kill us for this thing. So yeah, if you're right, it is either a hoax that will cause tremendous amount of pain, embarrassment, suffering, dismay, general queasiness, or whatever for the people who find it and try to make anything off of it in case it is a fake. And even if it is a fake and it's a fairly believable fake, it's very likely somebody gets killed over it before they are able to determine it is a fake, or it's locked away in a warehouse somewhere and investigated by top men. Or it's real, which is even worse. possibly, or wonderful, possibly, or both, very likely. And it's sitting on your kitchen table.
Collect the set.
So yeah, she basically boils it down as that this could be the Aleph key, and if it is, and you guys can each. In fact, I'm curious about this. I want to kind of roll around just real quick because again, I'm finding out more about the world as we talk to you guys. I think it's fairly clear for Monster. I'll start with Monster. Like the pros for the pros in favor of this are we might be able to open the gate. We might have. I mean, forget about waiting for somebody to do it. We might be the somebody who does it.
Yes.
What else?
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm not sure that Monster has an internal monologue, but if he does, what's going through his head on this? And if he doesn't, then what's going through his mouth at this moment?
Pretty much. Oh. So yes, maybe we can collect the set and open the gate.
Does it occur
Or you can sell it to somebody who will.
Yeah, would rather take responsibility for doing it.
No. Taking responsibility is the worst idea anyone has ever made for anything.
I misstate. Perhaps make sure it actually happens, not is sold to someone who will keep in collection or study or sell to someone else who won't do it.
Interesting. I got a question, and I love this conversation, and that's great, and establishes both characters beautifully. Thank you very much. Is there, Monster, for your people, is there such a thing as like, this is my fate, this is my destiny kind of thing? And if so, would it even occur to Monster going like, to think, maybe I'm the person who's supposed to open up this gate back to my home? Like, or is that just not something that would occur to him, or just not something that culturally would be a thing that your people would have ever even have?
Yeah, it's not something that his people would be much into. It would be more like if the challenge is there and there's a path toward it, it would be wrong not to pursue it. That's about as close as he would get to, oh, it's fate and destiny that's been put in my hands.
Yeah,
aside from just the general desire to have the gate opened and determine what's on the other side.
Your people don't have chosen ones, but they do have dudes who decided to do the thing because they were there.
Because they were there.
Yeah.
It's
okay.
it's the why do you climb the mountain? Because why do you fight the huge mountain-sized monster? Because it's there.
It was right there. They're very easy to hit at that size.
Yes. And difficult to miss.
Son, academic. Probably heard lots of rumors about this. Usually filed away as sort of like space or fairy tales kind of thing. What's your reaction to the idea that this might be? I mean, is that like somebody saying, that's the Shroud of Turin, possibly, and how seriously do you take that, or how ridiculous is this, or possibly scary or like amazing opportunity from Son's point of view?
I mean, it was easy, or you would often end up with people claiming all sorts of things
about artifacts in general.
Yeah, or artifacts and in the hospital and stuff. So
where does just as an initial reaction, where does Sons fall on the idea of like, oh, this is a thing, this is an opportunity, this thing is dangerous, or this is like clearly important enough that we can probably get paid really well if we get rid of it? Like
more on the concern.
Doctor, medical concern.
Put out the GIF.
What Drifter, what's the more prosaic what's Drifter's sort of take on a thing like this? Because this is spacer lore. I mean, this is I'm trying to think of a you know a ship sailing, you know, artifact of, you know, lore and legend that people were like would dream of finding, you know, but it's not quite Davy Jones's locker, but it's, you know, a big thing. You know, being able to open a gate is like. But so what's Drifter's sort of immediate reaction to this thing?
His probable reaction is actually that this can't be it because that's too significant and we're nobodies. So he's like, I mean, that sounds amazing, but like, can we put this in the gas tank?
So some of the reaction or the immediate like sort of thing is it's got to be a fake because we've got it and we couldn't have the real thing. Huh. Okay, cool. Very cool.
And then the other half of it sounds like, you know, sort of being pragmatic, and it's like, yeah, but that's not going to help us gas in the tank.
Yeah, I mean, if it was legit, he would be totally excited. I think he's not there yet.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a potential there for well, geez, if we've got it and it's real, this is a real deal. Oh, that's yeah, cool. There's gonna be a lot of arguing about what the hell to do with this thing, and I kind of love that. Is that to get everybody? Armin, why we kind of, I mean, I didn't specifically call Armin, but Armin spoke. But more thoughts? Now you know that what the actual thing potentially is, or at least what you can sell it as.
Yeah, no, it's you know, if Drifter's concern is, can we put in the gas tank? Yes, we can. We can sell it for what other people will think is legit, and then we can
Live like
put
kings.
that money into the gas tank.
Yeah, live like kings in Patagonia. I mean, yeah, if you can keep from getting killed during the sell, the potential here is enormous, obviously, from a profit point of view.
What's the likelihood that we would actually be able to
you don't
and end up, you know, being alive 6 months from now?
Well, if you don't have it, nobody's going to kill you after the fact. There's not any point to it.
Well, but if it is what it is, then
keeping it and trying to stay alive gets dicier, but nobody really knows you have it except for, I mean,
except for whoever sent hegemony to Bar, or a person who hired us for a job, or maybe people who killed man in Bar.
But the thing is, all of that stuff that happened might have, I mean, let me put it another way. They think that you have a thing that might be the thing. And they're willing to
just as easily be a fake.
Yeah, they would. Everything that's happened so far is what people are willing to do on the off chance it might be the thing. I mean, yeah. So that's probably terrifying to a certain extent. Like, they'll mobilize a somewhat not entirely sanctioned action planet side on Warren for the 51st Legion on the off chance that they might be getting the real deal. And was that a faction that wants to keep it under wraps? Is that a faction that wants to use it? Odds are it's not the Night Seekers, because they don't really have a lot of pull with the 51st Legion, or really anybody. Not a lot of people anyway. But there are certainly people who turn themselves inside out just to verify this thing one way or the other. But most of those people don't realize that you have it and don't have any idea that you have it. And probably the people that do know you have it is relatively small.
What do we know about where it came from? Let's start there.
You don't have, you know bupkis about the provenance. It was a dead drop. You didn't even meet anybody where it was at.
We picked it up on a like a dock somewhere.
It wasn't even that. It was in a It would literally have never been found. You were given the coordinate. You were given an asteroid number.
Go to
In
these coordinates.
Yes, go to these coordinates. And you're at like a dead rock, and then you're getting like one reading that's got a little bit more heat than everything, and basically there's like a shipping crate that's just been like left floating, quote unquote stationary, but basically in sync with this asteroid on the shadow side. It's just floating there. Pull the thing in. This is the case inside. That's like, it was just dumped there. So who the hell knows where it could have been fabricated and put out there to cause an uproar, and that's its only purpose. But it's definitely not that simple. Whatever it is, Margie, it's definitely not a fake in terms of it being an artifact of some kind. It's definitely something. It may not be
We know it's powerful.
Yeah, it may not be that something, but it is definitely a thing that is not like a leftover herb tea stirrer. It's not a tea cozy left over from 10,000 years ago. It's something. And I think it would have had to have been in the Iota system. And I say that because there are so many bloody asteroid belts in that system.
Isn't that where the Sun Eaters want to, like, for the system or something?
do what's on the tin? Well, I mean, there are any number of reasons why. There's any number of reasons why. I mean, I can name any system in here, and you can immediately go, well, there's 16 different reasons why it could have been there, for reasons that prove that it's right, and for reasons that prove that it's a fake. And it doesn't matter which system I name. I could say you found it in the core, and it would be 6 of one, half dozen of the other. I'm going with Iota in this case, saying it where it was at, just because there's a lot of asteroids in there. But we'll backfill towards the corporate reasons for it. And there are, I mean, geez, it may not even, it begs the question as to whether or not it's even worth figuring out what it is, if you're going to get rid of it. All these things must be determined. And I think we'll leave with like kind of that tableau of you guys in the room and all kind of looking at the thing and kind of looking at each other, and like with that unspoken question hanging in the air of like, what next? Like, seriously, what next? Cool?
Sure.
And this is kind of why I wanted to start off the thing, because I felt like this just touched on a lot of stuff with, well, it touches on a lot of people's, stuff, but very closely to backstory for several folks. So yay. Okay. Let's look at some stuff that wraps up. You're right, we're not going to get to. We will begin next session with doing downtime, and then we will jump into whatever the next thing is. Probably because there's going to be some debate about what the next thing is going to be. I opened up the wrong sheet. I will open up the right sheet now. And we will look at the ship sheet, assuming it ever opens. There we go. Okie dokie. Mark XP. At the end of each session, for each item below, mark 1 XP, or instead mark 2 XP if that item occurred multiple times. Execute a successful transport or smuggling operation. Check. Contend with challenges. Contend with challenges above your current station. Also a check. Yes. You guys had to deal with 51st Legion. They were technically they were functioning at level 2. And you guys not only, you guys matched them, which was great. Bolster your crew's reputation or develop a new one. You guys were sort of trying to do this without necessarily having it sort of connected to the crew's thing. So I'm going to say no on that, but well done on what you did do. Express the goals, drives, ___ inner conflict or essential nature of the crew. And I'm going to say abso-frickin-lutely. And that actually fills your bar for playbook advancement on the ship. Ooh. Which is hooray. So What the hell does that do?
So we have a lot of options with that.
Okay. So I'm assuming we can do stuff like, does that let us raise the crew, or do we have to do like 2 levels to do that?
We actually have to pay money for that, I believe.
Okay. And there, right now we have like 1 cred sitting in the bank because we haven't actually earned anything from that job that wasn't a job. Okay. For right now, we'll remember that we dinged, and I'm going to do a bunch of reading up on what the hell that means because it's late. Is that fair?
I think that's fair.
And that will be something else that we have to look forward to for next session, and maybe even talk about in between. Is that
And
cool?
did you want us to do our own ones?
We will definitely do all of our own ones, but I want to know. I just want to have that squirreled away, and we will talk about like what this looks like when we get to next session.
I meant our wrap up.
Yeah, we're gonna go through each character. I just want to make sure we're squared away on the ship, and I'll start reading up on what it means when the crew levels. That's kind of cool. Crew levels. I was not expecting that.
Yeah. Part of that is, I believe, we get more stuff for our ship.
Which
Like we can put in like a new system.
Nice. Very cool. And that's a great place to start in downtime and all that other kind of stuff. So that's a good place to be. I'm just working this down in alphabetical order, so I'm going to jump over to Armin. We didn't have any desperate actions. You addressed a tough challenge with deception or influence. I don't see that one. You expressed your beliefs, drives, heritage, or background. Check.
Yep.
You struggled with issues from your vice or traumas during the session. No, but I promise that will come up next session. Or, well, maybe not for you, but certainly people will have to deal with vices next session. So there's some
I
potential
was
there.
going to say, I'm going to.
You're going to. Certainly, Margie owes me one. We'll see how all the rest of that shakes out. So good stuff there. So getting pretty close to a ding there as well. And I suppose, I mean, am I accurate in saying that you could theoretically, if you really wanted to, like shuffle those shuffle?
No.
Can those be shuffled into the stats or no? Or you have to get
Oh, no. The into session ones, I could have put those into the stats, but I did not want to.
Okay. All right. So they're all checked. Good deal. All right. And talk, if that's something that people are curious about, like, can I put them in a different stat as opposed to putting them into the general pool? And you want to do that, just say so. Dave, I think you end up in the IO column for this one. When we get to you, I'm just kind of playing this back in the back. We didn't get a lot of stuff for you this session. I'm sorry about that.
I did get a chance to kind of
About your heritage with the gate.
Work a bit about my heritage with the gate.
And I like that. I do. I just, there wasn't a lot. We didn't give you. I need to get you. We need to think about what
Who I can beat up.
Well, that's true, but we need to think about what monster does when there's ship stuff happening.
I have actually a few suggestions for that,
Ooh.
but we can talk about that on the forums.
Yeah, definitely.
Sure.
Actually, on that note, James, real quick, I posted a thing about badass doctors on forums. I don't know if you had a chance to look at that or not.
I saw that. Thank you.
I liked it. I liked it a lot. I happen to know that one of those, I'm not going to say which one, but one of those was one of the seminal inspirations. So well spotted, Bill. Okay, no, we didn't. We don't have any desperate actions at all. You addressed it. This is for K. You addressed a tough challenge with charm or audacity. I'm going to. We're going to check that one because of the little thing where you made up our little ore hauler. Consider this me paying for it on the fact that he's going to cause you pain and drama later. So, so we got check marks there. Do you want to check it or shall I?
Good.
You did already? Okay.
I said go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, I thought you said you did. I only got half of it. You expressed your beliefs, drives, heritage, or background. Check. Not going to be very tough about these. You struggled with issues from your vice or traumas. Not yet. But
Next week.
But I promise that's coming. Well, I mean, maybe you won't have to struggle. Maybe it'll just be a piece of cake. But also a great way to relieve some stress. So hey, bonus. We'll get that one out of the way. Drifter.
No desperate actions. I want to mark one for tough challenge with speed because
yes, please.
That's pretty much how we got off planet.
Yep.
And we didn't do it in session, but I would like to ask for marking XP for heritage or background based on all the world building stuff that we've been doing on forums that you've been rolling in.
Yes, please. Yes, by all means.
Okay.
There's been some great background stuff there that I really, really like. It also reminded me that I wanted to get that picture of that asteroid, like the ship built into the asteroid kind of thing, image
Yeah.
up there because I really like that.
And I don't feel that I want to mark something unless like it got seen during play, like it was a reason that like we got a bonus to the roll, or it was a reason why the roll was more difficult or whatever.
Right.
So I'm looking for things that we can actually bring in that are relevant.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and partly I'm actually basing decisions I'm making off some of the stuff that you had on the forum. So normally, yeah, no, but in this case, absolutely yes. So yay, going forward, cool stuff. Back to Monster, and I love that picture of Monster. And we didn't have Force of Threats, but definitely drives Heritage background. Check that one. Monster needs more XP. We need to get him more desperate rolls. And we don't have Vice or Traumas yet. So checking one here on Monster Sheet for that one there.
Okay.
Okay. And Sun. It'll open eventually, I'm sure of it. I need a good picture for the galley too, although that picture in the background will work for now. But you addressed a tough challenge with insight or compassion. I don't think that's. You did a very. You know what? I'm going to give that to you for the insight thing, because the idea of the medical emergency and for the orbit thing is a like, how can I disrupt the flow of this place nicely is really, really good. You express your beliefs, drives heritage or background. I think the guy that you were going to contact on Warren. Now the audience, air quotes, doesn't really know who the hell that guy was, but we know, and there's some background there that is interesting, and I think that counts. So put that in there.
Yeah, and I have a picture of him for
Cool.
whenever
Throw it up on
my NPCs get added into the list of NPCs.
I was building those when your character sheet wasn't up yet, so I don't have all those guys
I know.
up. So toss it up in Discord or something, and I'll with a name next to it, and I'll yank them down and do what we do. Typically, what I'm doing is grabbing like the person that you like and the person that doesn't like you, kind of thing. But if you've got something, this guy's been introduced now, so let's get a picture up for them for sure. You struggle with issues of your vice or traumas during the session? Not yet, but soon. Okay, cool. A lot of people close, and at least a couple people close. And we have the crew that is actually dinged as a group, which is cool. So we're gonna figure out the hell all
threw
that
that
means.
into Discord.
Threw that into Discord. Let me look at Discord.
So we can take a special or we can take a crew special ability, two upgrades, or two ship upgrades, which could be like our freight transponder or power reserves, or even like a medical bay.
Ooh, nice.
Or we can increase one ship quality, comms, engines, hull, weapons.
Cool.
Up to their maximum. Or we can increase our crew quality.
Ooh.
If we do that, it costs 4 times the new quality rating.
So to go to crew quality 1 would be 4 cred, which you currently have 1 of. So
yes, which is why we need to take jobs.
Need to get a job. Need to get some jobs. So that may not be in the.
Had a job.
Yeah, which we did not get paid for.
We got key.
You have key.
Is pay for a job there?
Yeah. If you want to convert that to cred, you're one of the only people who would argue against that. So yeah. So an advance, maybe an additional crew special ability, 2 ship upgrades. So that's things like, some of that's, things that some of that is stuff like Mike mentioned. I think that's also like actually having crew quarters, stuff like that. Also, yeah. Is that one of the things? I think it's one of the things.
It is. You just really want us to have crew.
No, I'm just saying. I'm making sure I understand the category of things. I'm fine with you guys living in hammocks. Are you kidding? Sleeping in the crash couches and stuff.
So
they're gimbaled. Fine. It's safe. I mean, you don't have to worry about. I mean, if the ship has to suddenly go under hard burn when you're sleeping, you're already in the couch. What are the special
So-
the crew special abilities for it?
Oh, it's like
what-
cargo eye, the getaway.
Oh, right. The
Yeah.
stuff off the character sheet. Sure.
Uh-huh.
All right.
Or
So
we can take a veteran advance off another character sheet.
from one of the other ships.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's fun. Very cool.
Yeah.
So lots of stuff.
So-
Yes,
Small thing.
home cooking.
Yes. Also, when we
Yes.
get to the end of when we get to the end of downtime,
Mm-hmm.
we're also going to have to pay our upkeep on our ship,
Mm-hmm. Which are going to be
which we can't.
which is going to be problematic because we haven't necessarily got paid yet. I'm not sure. I got to think about how downtime's going to go necessarily on this first row, whether or not we actually do the downtime exactly. I got to think about that because
Well, if we don't, we have a lot of people who have a lot of stress.
see, and that's part of it. It's just some of it seems unfair because your ship didn't really get. I mean, your big escape roll was. Well, we'll see. Let me go digging around on that. I'm aware of cognizant of the fact you guys don't actually have enough cred for that. So there may be some debt accruing or blah blah blah, any of that kind of stuff.
I mean, yeah, we can skip a
Maintenance thing.
yeah, we can skip a maintenance. It just may blow up in our face.
Yeah, but the ship didn't take any dings or anything like that, so there's some of that. Yes,
I
James.
thought that I thought that was each box was supposed to stand for 2 credits.
No,
No.
each box is 1 cred.
We spent a cred.
Yeah, there was 1 cred. You had 2 starting out, and 1 got spent on God knows what. I'd have to go back to the recording to remember. what
We
it was.
increased somebody's reputation with us.
Oh, right. Yeah, when you guys were sorting out like
Okay.
whether or not they liked you or something like that, one of the creds got spent to have them like you more, or like you care about you one way or the other.
Like you, we really, really like you.
Yeah. Which may work out. I mean, maybe you dug in there. I'll look at it though. I'm cognizant of the fact that you're doing downtime after a job that wasn't really a job, and it's difficult to kind of come out of that thing with actually getting paid. And that kind of sucks a little bit because you don't get the other parts of the mechanics that result in you getting cred before I hit you with the downtime thing that takes cred away.
So there's always the possibility
Mm-hmm.
that there could be like, oh, we finished another job and there's the payment for this, or it could be any number of things. It's like,
Yeah, I mean, if we're actually, because I always sort of think of downtime as, planet side kind of stuff. We may, this may not be the only job that we had teed up.
I see. See.
Maybe we're headed someplace else. Besides the fact that we've got the MacGuffin on board,
Right.
But
So you're
that's
saying,
just a more conventional thing where.
well, yeah. So okay. Let me think about that because what you're saying is like have this job pay, but narratively speaking, having the money come from someplace else.
correct.
Okay.
And it could be, I mean, a minor job,
Yes.
Mhm.
which this probably would have been had we not known any better,
Absolutely.
is like 2 cred.
And it could be that you even got that money forwarded to you in advance because it was such a minor like milk run that they're actually just, they don't want, whatever. Yeah, let me think about that. I am provisionally totally fine with that. At least insofar as I'm want to counteract the fact that it's kind of a weird setup at the beginning anyway, which we've talked about. The setup, while intriguing, and works entirely from many role-playing games point of view, does kind of mess with the.
Doesn't teach you the rhythm.
It messes with the cycle and the rhythm of the way the game is meant to kind of roll, and that's a little bit weird. As like, here's your introduction to the game, which is not going to function in the way that you expect any. But as a demo at a con, totally works. Which is probably why it was built in the first place. Was to demo it at a con.
Those of you in Colorado should look out at the snow.
Is there snow?
Is there snow?
Send me pictures.
I don't. I guess there's a little bit.
Oh, geez, that's a lot of snow for
Yeah,
it not being snowing earlier.
we went up. It was sunny and lovely in the morning, and then we were like, let's leave.
In the 50s, come on.
Yeah, it was sunny and lovely in the morning up at the mountains. We're skiing. And it's like, this is a really great day to be out here. And then later, it's like, yeah, we're leaving early, and we're gonna go. We're gonna go right now. And that was having paid for like a day of lessons with the little kids and stuff like that. It's like, they've learned enough. We're good. Let's Dad's driving. Dad says time to go. So yeah, finally I guess it got down here. Okay, cool. So we have some stuff. Mike, I am entirely on board with that. Thank you for that input. That is a great idea. I have a picture of Judah Agate. Like him. Good. Apparently he likes 3D movies. I like his glasses. No, I'm kidding. So good stuff there. And thank everybody for the input. Like Bill, you've been kicking in stuff. Dave, Mike, you guys have had some stuff in there. I think I might even have that Firefly book that you were like maybe screenshot. I know I had that at one point.
I have like 3 of them because, let's face it, I own way more books than I will ever play with.
Oh God, don't even get me started on
And
that.
That's why we have a basement.
I have.
hold on a second. Joyce, just to give you an idea of this, I bought Fate books today.
Why? We've talked about this.
No, hold on a second. Yeah, they're so it's Icons, the superhero game.
Yeah, I've got the PDFs.
The assembled edition version.
Uh-huh.
Okay, because the
well,
assembled
maybe-
edition is way better than the first edition that I bought way back when.
I don't know which one I have. I'm aware of what you're saying. I'm of the fact that the edition exists. I don't have the Firefly book anymore. I think I must have donated it over to the friendly local gaming store. They have kind of a lending library thing, and I just kind of leave game books in sometimes if I need to empty out some shelves. Well, I get rid of stuff, more recent stuff, but then I still have like all of my dog-eared, shredded Shadowrun 3rd edition stuff from back in college. Because that is cold dead finger stuff as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, yeah, I'm that bad.
Well, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to actually use that GIF from Sneakers, which I've had working on my hard drive for